Hello, I'm Banjo from Houseroo, here to help you with your home buying journey from start to finish. Let me explain. Meet Jacqueline. She's a conveyancer. It's her job to make sure all the legal paperwork runs smoothly. Until today, Jacqueline had to juggle stacks of folders, missed phone calls, lost emails and breakdowns in communication. With Houseroo, these worries are a thing of the past. Jacqueline can now manage all her properties by simply clicking and sending updates in real time. And guess what? Her clients love it because they can log in anytime and track their deal. Now meet Darren. He's a real estate agent juggling multiple property deals at all different stages of the process. Sometimes things would go wrong and Darren wasn't told about it until it was too late and the deal had fallen through. Now, with Houseroo, Darren can check his app and be updated as soon as any issues arise, so he can take action and save deals. So how does this help buyers and sellers? Well, meet Martin and Sarah. For them, Houseroo means that they now have a simple way to stay in the loop for important parts of the deal. Houseroo converts all the terms and conditions of a contract into an easy-to-follow timeline. Their personalised dashboard shows all the key information, so they have full transparency. With Houseroo, they can book everyone they need at the best price to settle their property and track and manage files, invite banks, building inspectors, insurers, or anyone else to collaborate with them on their deal from a simple link. Houseroo, your entire property journey from start to finish.
Hello and welcome to the show. Good to be back with you. You know, technology can be used for good. It can be also used for bad. Technology can be a great enabler, and recently we've seen a lot of evidence of how it's being used as a disruptor. But you know, every now and then we get the opportunity to tell you about a great enabler that's been created using some brilliant technology. Just for a moment, imagine being able to visually track and manage the progress of an entire property transaction, everyone who's involved in that transaction. Be able to stay in the loop, every part of the deal, and for all parties to be able to see exactly what's happening. Here we're talking about the buyer, the seller, the agent, the conveyancer, the financier, everyone. Total transparency. Well, it is now possible. To explain, I'm joined by Shaneal Sharma from Houseroo. Now, they are the creators of a wonderful tool that's called Transactor. Shaneal, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, good. Show us your T-shirt. Come on, Houseroo. There it is.
There it is.
That's the site, houseroo.com. Okay, we talked about Transactor. We'll get a little bit deeper into that. Well, actually, no. Tell me firstly now how Transactor works.
Okay, so how it all works is this. It brings together, as you had a great brief there, but brings together the real estate agent, the conveyancer, the buyer, the seller, the mortgage broker to come onto one platform really easy in a click to visualize what's going on from start to finish so people can successfully settle.
Yeah, it seems to me the tech behind this is designed for total transparency, which, you know, we talked about in the open there, but it probably goes a little bit deeper. Correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but it also allows for everyone to see what's happening in real time, but more importantly, be alerted to upcoming issues, which to me was the key thing that I picked out.
Exactly. So I always use this analogy. So, you know, when you're ordering a pizza, so you got your Domino's app, you got it open, and you're like, okay, the pizza's just left.
Yes.
They cooked it. It's coming down this street. Okay, it's going here. And you're like,
It's being delivered by Shaneal.
But yeah, exactly. So you know what? The way I say it, I say, think of like 10 different pieces from 10 different shops coming to the same place because, as we say, it's like herding cats, right?
Yeah.
You got to track where's the conveyancing up to, what's going on with the building and pest, what's going on with the finance. And so what it is this app and platform, it brings everything together in one click. You can see everything. given that you've invited the right stakeholders so that they can update what's going on.
Yeah, well,
So
we'll talk about that, about how it actually works. But you talk there about herding cats, and having just been through a transaction in the last few weeks, the system is like herding cats. You don't quite know
Absolutely.
who's communicating with who and what's happening, and even if it is happening, and you can almost go crazy by trying to track it all. So you're bringing all this together. Can I just ask then, if we are bringing it all together, who controls the people who are able to access my stuff, and who controls how it's shared?
Exactly. And I love that question because security, privacy, very, very important. So here's the thing. If I'm buying a property and you're my conveyancer, obviously there's a fiduciary relationship of trust right there. So I can invite you in, and I'm inviting you, Kevin, as Kevin Conveyancing, and now you are letting me know what's going on. So to answer your question, only I have access, and I can what we call grant access. So I can grant access to my documents to you to service me, okay? So it's the same thing like with an accounting firm. You've got all your documents there, and you grant that access and documentation across. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want and you're overseas and you have a buyer's agent that's representing you, then you can grant access to that buyer's agent. And there's been many cases that we've seen on the platform where, the agents was privy to what's happening in that process as well. So the key is that at all times you have you can grant the access, and you play God in that case. And there's a little button there that says grant access or switch it off. And if you don't want somebody on there, guess what you do? You hit the delete button and they're struck off straight away. So you can click the plus button, add them in, or delete them off straight away.
Okay. So where does it start? Does it start with the agent? The agent sort of lists the property, then that property goes in, and then it just goes through the process? Is that how it would normally start?
Okay, so it's one of those things like when you go to build something, you kind of go, well, this is the idea that we think. However, in reality, we had to think of it like it's going to start from somewhere, and it means that whoever's involved, it may start from the buyer, it may start from the seller, it may start from whoever hears about the technology first. So here's what we've done. We've done a one-is-to-many deal in the tech. So we've gone, whoever wants to start it can start the process.
And then invite the people in.
Exactly. And more importantly, when you invite the people in, you're like, wait a second. So Shaneal from, Houseroo, who's got this product called Transactor, has invited me to participate. What the hell is this? I've never seen this before. But it says, hey, Shaneal really wants you to use this platform and you've only got to click a couple of buttons to update them, right? So the way that we've written, it's like when you first got that first Uber ride, you got this little email or this SMS that came through and says, hey, $20 off your first ride, just try it. So we've done that in the tech. It does that. And we've gone from 0 to 725 users, which are live right now. I just looked at the count before we did the interview. And that's what it is right now, and climbing. So anybody can invite. However, obviously, it's all about who touches transactions. And that's generally the real estate agent, obviously, and conveyancers and mortgage brokers, okay?
Because most people, apart from investors, when they sell a house, they're probably going to buy another one. So it's sort of one transaction leads to the next. So
exactly.
I'm a seller, I'm selling my property, and then I go out and find another property that I want to buy. I guess it's possible to bring these two together to make sure that it coincides, because, a lot of settlements are simultaneous and almost contemporaneous, one dependent on the other. Yeah.
Absolutely. And especially, when the market slows, you find a lot more of those conditions coming through. So you're absolutely right. The fact of the matter is that, so if you've got a couple of transactions happening, you're tracking them both from the same place. And, one of the key things that we find is that not knowing is like the biggest issue. So, communication is the key, and it provides that layer of transparency and trust that we're all looking for from, we're trusting the real estate agent to let us know, what's happening. We're trusting our conveyancers to tell us what's happening in those stages. And unfortunately, you can be an amazing conveyancer and you know you're amazing, but how do we know that you're doing your job? And it's not so much that you're trying to check their job. You just want to know where things are up to. And so, there are little trackers and that I've seen before, but the thing is, we spend 20 hours a day, and I'm not exaggerating here. We do this day in and day out. We are in the business of providing transparency and tracking better than anyone. Okay, that's what we do.
I agree totally. It is about transparency, but it also, and you're just touching on something here, is about communication. And I think this is where a lot of negotiation falls down, or transactions fall down, because the communication fails. Would you say that is probably what you've determined or picked up as the trickiest part of the transaction, is this lack of communication?
Exactly. So it's, when I'm buying a property or if I'm selling a property, one of the biggest issues is the seller wants to know where the hell the sale's at. So we've actually built that out for the real estate agent to let their vendors know where the sale's at. One click, and they can just update it on their phone. So communication has been, like, if I was to choose one key thing, gun to head, what is it? That's the issue in the real estate industry. It's the breakdown of communication. You lose deals over it.
Yeah. I mean, would you therefore say, this communication is such an important part, but is that what you've picked up as probably the most frustrating inefficiency in all of this?
Exactly. So, when you're a conveyancer and you're trying to send a message out, a traditional conveyancer might have 50 matters that they're dealing with a month, for example. Now, you take one matter, there's 20 phone calls.
Yeah.
You multiply that over 50, there's bound to be, issues. Obviously, you need a, perfect process. It's about getting that optimized process. So the idea is to take the friction out, create that level of, in one click, that's happened. So I just got a phone call. Okay, it's all smooth, great. Click, bang. It tells everybody, it SMSs, it sends the email, it does a notification, it visualizes it on a timeline. And more importantly, when you go in, you can actually choose how you want to be spoken to or communicated to. So communication, the whole way.
Yeah, it's really funny, and I'm listening to you talk now because I'm thinking that technology has shaped and changed a lot of what we do. It's certainly changed how we communicate, because in a lot of cases we think communication's me talking to you, but it's not necessarily. It's actually me communicating with you that what I said I was going to do has actually been done. So I don't physically have to tell you, I can show you.
Exactly. So now what happens is that, if you're looking at a 30-day settlement, so day one, you sign the contract. 7 days, you've got building and pest, it might be 14 days finance. So what we're getting at here is that whole process, and don't get me wrong, things get pushed out, gets pushed forward. We just need to know when that's happening. And we're really bad at letting every single person know out of those 50, that things are happening, because for one transaction, you've got so many people involved in that one transaction. So you've got that one property, you got the building and pest, you got the conveyancing, finance. One of the biggest issues, where is the finance up to? You can track that on the system as well. So all those pieces now, we've mapped out each of those pieces, run a simple process. Making something simple is a very difficult task, let me tell you.
Well, we think a transaction like this is simple, that you sort of go and find a house, you do a contract, you get a bit of finance, you do a transaction. But all the touch points, all the things that have to happen along the way, there would have to be thousands that you would have determined need to go into this program. Would I be correct?
Absolutely. And building on that, it's very, very smooth, the whole process, until it's not.
Yeah,
right.
Until it falls, and unfortunately, when it falls over, it's sometimes too late to know.
Exactly.
And that's the thing I love about this. I also think it's a bit like a task manager that we use in our business, because we produce a lot of shows, a lot of activities have to happen. The thing I have noticed that before we used a model similar to what you do, but we use it for a different purpose, was that our communication was intense. We had to be talking to people all the time. What's happening? Here we're going to. Now that we've got a task manager, you do one item, it ticks off and then alerts the next person that they need to do something. It seems to me this is exactly what what Transactor does.
You're spot on. So, you're buying a house. Okay, great. Where is it up to? So that I can go and plan the truck, the removalist. The seller needs to know what's going on so that they can plan when to move out and get the next place ready. The conveyancer, has to know exactly where the finance is up to tell the other parties what's going on. And as we know, just to make it even more fun and complex, you got two sides, the buyer side and the seller side, and you got two conveyancers. It's different to the States where you've got one side, you've got one that handles both sides. But over here, you've got two sides. And don't even get me started. In Australia, you've got all the various
different states. Yeah, they're all different.
And they're all different, and there's different milestones.
Yeah.
And so we've customized. So the good thing is that it doesn't matter where you are in the country, the platform allows you to customize all of those milestones, and then you can see the dashboard in your terminology, in how you do things in your practice.
Yeah.
In the system.
From what I've seen of Transactor too, another big advantage is that you're building a team. So you've got the options that come up in front of you. You can build your team, your conveyancer, your financier, and solicitor, whoever you need on your team. It brings about. We've looked at communication, we've looked at transparency, but there's another word too that I think is apt here, and that is collaboration. And I'm just wondering if this collaborative effect that Houseroo or Transactor has able to create has actually streamlined this process. Has it made it more efficient?
It absolutely has. And the reason for that is that, I think probably the key thing is that when we built it in the first place, we actually went and sat down inside the offices of real estate agencies, legitimately. We don't get into just building something and they will come. It's the opposite side. Build something with them and then they will use it, right? So we sat down inside, Ray White's, and we sat down at Place Real Estates, and we sat down in conveyancing firms like, you Buy the Rules, your Cornerstones, and saw the process. And this collaborative that you bring up, collaboration, is all about, so the efficiency that it brings, in one click, you're like, okay, building a pest, bang, bang, bang. And we've got this feature called Add Favorites. So you can actually populate who you use. Out of a year, you've got your 3 favorite conveyancers, you've got you're building a pest, and I'm talking about the agency, and vice versa for the conveyancers. They have their referral channels that they use. They populate them all in there. And for a buyer or a seller, they can click who they want to use, click, 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 click. It's all there. And if there is an issue, what it'll do is it'll flag in red, right? Alert, alert, there's something here. And it'll actually aggregate and bring the number up. It's called a hot button. And literally right there, you're like, oh, there's an issue. It'll bring up the number. You don't have to dig into your phone to find it and dig in the email. It just brings it right, straight, bang, in center. Make the phone call. What's the deal? And this is what it does. And this is built. This is out of the box, ready to go right now.
Okay. Now, I want to get to the final point, and that is about cost and how it all works. We already know that it can start at any point. Anyone can start the process.
Yes.
Walk me through the process. I'm an agent. I list a property. I want to start it.
Yes.
How do I go about it? What are the costs?
So, exactly. So as an agent, it's absolutely free to track the conveyancing side. Okay, because the conveyancer wants the matters from you, so the conveyancer then pays for that matter. It's $9 for that one transaction. It's nothing compared to the time that's being saved. The second part, the buyer and the seller, totally free. Okay, and then the conveyancing part, right? So the conveyancer pays the $9 because they've accepted that matter, but automatically now they now have a tracker. They have a practice management system that actually provides a communication, right, for the process. Now, if the real estate agent wants to use it now for their own sales campaign and use it in their practice to do tracking, well, that's simple. For an entire office, it's $199 a month for the entire office, or they can go as a pay-as-you-go model, right, which works out to $9 a transaction for themselves to use it from that sales campaign side.
I'm just interested now to find out, because my experience, transactions can go wrong in a lot of places.
Yes. But
essentially, some key areas are the conveyancing and the financing.
Yes.
Putting aside the agent for a moment, a lot can go wrong there.
Sure.
What sort of reaction have you had from them in terms of, wow, all of a sudden, everything we do is transparent. People can see it.
So that's an awesome question. So one of the best things, so when we go in and we show agents, we say, so this is what it looks like now, and they're basically setting a contract in, and they're on the phone trying to find out what's going on. But now we've got conveyancers that are flicking the tracking, which is the timeline, and so all of a sudden they're like, hey, do you want to track where your deal is up to? Click, and they can go, okay, I got 8 days till my commission's going to get paid, right? So that's a game changer for them, because they can actually see where the conveyancing is up to. Because if the conveyancing goes south and it crashes, guess what? No commission. So essentially, they're tracking their commission through this platform.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very, very compelling. Now, the other part to that too is when you're going through that process, the biggest issue that we are finding, because we get lots of data that we see, it's always held up, as you said, the conveyancing and also the finance. So whether it's the valuation's not up to scratch, or so we find that. But the issue isn't that is the issue. The issue is that telling me that that's the issue. So as soon as there is an issue, we need to know straight away.
Communication.
That's it.
We're going to leave it on that point. I want to thank you so much. Congratulations, Shaneal, on what you're doing. I think it's absolutely sensational. The website is called houseroo.com or .com.au, whichever you choose. Go and check it out, and check out the Transactor. It's a game changer. I love it. I love transparency, and I love talking to you. Thank you very much for your time, Shaneal.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Oh, what do I like about real estate? The people is probably the thing that I love the most. The stories that I get told. Probably the most common one that I get is that agents bullshit to them. The biggest frustration is transparency and keeping everybody else in the loop. So keeping the buyer in the loop and keeping the seller in the loop with the processes, all the different things that happen once a property is purchased. I think if there definitely was some technology around it that could be interacted, so I can interact as well as the conveyancers, the building and pest, because it's not just the conveyancers, there's all parts of, both from the vendor's point of view and also the buyers. So technology definitely would, I think, make a difference, make my time more efficient. I have just engaged Houseroo, which now allows me, both with suppliers and solicitors and conveyancers and all the rest of it, to be in one spot that we all can interact, but at the same time, both the buyer and the seller also get those alerts. It's the milestones within that process that both the buyer and seller need to know about. But even prior to that, there's so much work that gets done before putting a property on the market. So to be able to have Houseroo allow me to send that information direct just on an app, so my client can just get on, he's up to date all the time. It allows that to happen in the background so I can have meaningful conversations with him.